Hi again, everyone. It is yours truly once again, the Whiskey Coach, back at it again. And as my friends, Boys to Men, once said, so we've come to the end of the road. Okay, I won't torture you with any more singing. Of course, I'm referencing the end of the Northern Border Collection, the final review tonight. Second review of the evening, the Pike Creek 21-year-old expression. So, Pike Creek is a name that many of you are familiar with if you're at all into Canadian whiskey. By the way, I turned off the TV for this review. I didn't like how that looked in the last one, so my apologies. But Pike Creek is a name that you're all familiar with. The standard offering initially had always been, matter of fact, I have one here, had always been finished in port casks. As you can see, the two bottles do very much resemble each other. Not exactly, but they resemble each other. For instance, the original is kind of just like a paper label around the bottle. This one kind of has a simulated wood grain. But the original is a port cask finish, non-age statement Canadian whiskey. The one they're currently doing is actually a rum cask finish, and it does have an age statement of 10 years. This one, guys, what basically happened was apparently they had about 42 barrels. They were aging particularly gracefully in the warehouses north of the border. They decided to let those bad boys go. By the time it reached maturation, they refilled some initial bourbon barrels. So stay with me here. Initially, these barrels were bourbon barrels that were then produced. That were then used to produce Scotch from the Chivas brothers, big name in Scotch. And so basically, these were finished in Speyside Scotch casks from the Chivas brothers. So originally it was a bourbon barrel, then it was a Scotch barrel, and then it was finally used to finish off these 21-year-old Canadian whiskeys that we'll be reviewing tonight. So Angel Share north of the border, they estimate is approximately 3%. So that's why it went from 42 barrels to 24 barrels over 21 years is a long, long time. You know, it's so funny. We're almost just kind of breezing past the fact that this is a 21-year-old whiskey. Guys, that in the grand scheme of things is a hyper-aged whiskey. You know, but you know, since a 35-year-old and a 40-year-old is you know, some of the whiskeys we've just talked about here recently, we're almost just skimming past 21-year-old. That's a big deal. So I just want to mention that. So tonight, I don't have a sample, so we will be opening the bottle itself. I always think that, by the way, we talked about the presentation here a bit, but I always think that they do a pretty nice job with their bottle, with that little, kind of that rope up there by the neck, and kind of a short, squat bottle, and they got that font they use is kind of nice. So I've always kind of appreciated what they're doing there at Corby on this bottle. But I'm really intrigued. To my knowledge, there's never been a Canadian whiskey finished in Scotch barrels, so this should be, if nothing else, unique. I guess I'll keep that here so you guys can see that. And you get the Scotch. Yeah, I get it right off the rip. It's rye heavy. I don't know the mash bill on this, by the way. I'm sure one of you guys can educate me. If you do, feel free to leave it in comments and share it with the fine folks that are viewing this video. But I personally couldn't find it, at least conveniently, anywhere online. Scotch rye. Tobacco leaf, which which is something you kind of typically see more in a more of a bourbon. Appetizing nose, to say the least. Let's dig in. Little zest. We are talking 45% alcohol, 90 proof. Price on this one is almost $90 Canadian, in Ontario at least. I'm giving you more information as I process what I'm tasting. Hope you don't mind. These also are bottled. Are numbered bottles. This particular bottle that I'm drinking this evening, let me lean over so you guys can get a good look, is $693 of 3,900 is all they did on this initial 2017 release. It's drier than I would anticipate. It's got some plums in there. It's got some spiciness of the rye, some of the cinnamon, some of the almost like a peppercorn zest. Nicely balanced. The Scotch is ever present, at least in my opinion, which gives it's kind of throwing my brain in a curveball, so to speak. It's because I'm tasting Canadian. I don't know what the heck I keep saying Irish whiskey tonight. Canadian whiskey, but I'm also getting this Scotch imparted, nose especially. I tell you what, generally speaking, I want to tip the old cap to Don Livermore, Master Blender at Corby. I think this collection's been wonderful. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. It's been unique. I think every one of them they've offered, something unique, a unique experience while you're drinking them. This one, I think, is kind of I don't want to say it's the stepchild or the one that's not going to get as much love and admiration, but I guess I sort of think that. I think it's sort of a pedestrian experience. It's not bad, but I don't know. 21 years in Scotch cask, it just seems so. I don't know what I was expecting, but I was maybe expecting a little bit more. It will go down easily, certainly. But I just don't get as many flavors and intense flavors and bold flavors. And just really the drinking experience, generally speaking, as I did. Certainly the Wiser's 35. Certainly the Lot 40 cash strength. I think I like the Gooder Ham a bit more as well. I will give this Canadian whiskey a 6.9. Again, and by the way, guys, when I grade, you heard me raving about the Lot 40, and I gave that an 8.8. I leave a lot of room just in case I experience things that are far superior than what I'm currently tasting. So my 6.9 or a 69 on a 1 through 100 scale isn't some other folks who grade everything 80 plus. That's just not my style. To each their own. But this isn't a bad whiskey. I find myself sticking up for it as I'm tasting it and knocking it down a little bit, but I'm not sure. Maybe the Scotch and Canadian whiskeys maybe jive as much as I would have liked. Sometimes two categories don't really work as well as maybe in other two categories. And I think maybe that's what we're looking at here. Maybe just a victim of circumstance and just, maybe not quite of, again, this is all personal, guys. So many times I'll see you guys and they'll say, hey, Coach, yeah, I really like this one, or I can't believe you like that one. There's going to be differences. You guys are all going to think something's great that I think is swill and vice versa. That's what's fun about this. So please don't take my scores or reviews too seriously. I hope you respect my palate and my opinion, or otherwise you wouldn't watch. But certainly don't let it, dictate how you experience something. If you love something, great. If you hate something, that's fine too. But my personal score on this one will be a 6.9. But guys, I am really happy I got a chance to experience these Canadian whiskeys. I hope I've shed some light on kind of the category itself and some of the unique and bold flavors that they offer. And hopefully you have a little more respect for Canadian whiskey if you hadn't prior to these videos. So again, guys, and as always, glasses up.